Issue 157. After weeks of gathering information, Shadow shows up at Prison Island, breaks into the compound, and hears the voice of Dr. Gerald on a video ahead of him with a metal Sonic with no red eyes activated nearby. The message from Gerald explains that the military was seeking to use his creations, but because of what happened to Maria, he wanted to use those creations against him. Shadow sees that Gerald thinks his purpose in life is vengeance. After he gets punched by the metal Sonic, he seeks a pragmatic approach to defeating it with a weapon, thinking to himself that it's for fun. Makes sense. And I can easily believe that Shadow would beat Metal Sonic so easily with his Chaos powers. Then the Metal Sonic says that his sensors tell him a pipeline near them contains liquid nitrogen. Shadow finds some insulation covered high voltage lines though, meaning that he's safe, but his enemy isn't. Somehow that still doesn't kill him, and he goes to pick up a weapon, while Gerald's message shows him being told that he'll be executed because he's a threat. So I guess the military left this camera footage behind, based on what they recorded from their suspicions of Gerald. Not intentionally to manipulate Shadow, but to warn people about Gerald. After the two of them knock each other out, Mecha, who are mistook for Adam, shows up in her human form, calling Metal Sonic a moron for potentially damaging the data files that they came for. Some narration says that the normal mechanical sounds heard in the nerve center of a base is pierced with the klaxon alarm sounding. And not long ago, the response would be immediate, but that was before Eggman was forced to become human. He complains that he can't get a good sleep in his base, and after saying some drastic measures are necessary, a computer in front of him with the alarm still going off displays that now Eggman will undergo a system shutdown. So somehow, Adam thought his father would rather kill himself than continue wreaking havoc in his biological form. Eggman panics, asking where this came from, and orders Adam to report any data relevant to the current incoming transmission. Okay, so this whole system shutdown thing wasn't from Adam. That makes more sense. While Sonic plays the guitar and sings about how for some reason he still hasn't gotten over Sally, and his parents hear this and discuss whether or not they should get involved, causing the more reasonable one to say he should just focus on fighting Eggman. Eggman, meanwhile, is advised by Adam to take a bold, preemptive action to draw out his would-be enemy from hiding, giving him an equal footing against his foe. Rosie and Hope are about to have a picnic after doing laundry when something blots out the sun, but doesn't make the entire sky go dark somehow. Everyone in Knot Hole nervously watches a Robotnik ship land instead of running away from fear of roboticization, because curiosity killed the cat. After Rotor idiotically suggests doing nothing until Eggman either makes trouble or they hear from the king, Tails naturally says, "Rotor, but we're the freedom fighters!" After Rotor says that they should treat him like a regular visitor until he commits a hostile action, Tails says, "Are you nuts? You think Sonic would agree with that game plan?" Sonic's mother naturally insists on giving Sonic breakfast first before he'd leave, and then he gasps at seeing Eggman at his door. Sonic rushes at Eggman, but through the power of bullshit, Eggman flips Sonic despite the fact that he was running at him at the speed of sound. Unless he held back so that the sheer force of running into him wouldn't murder him, but he had no problem with blowing Eggman up in Robotropolis. Somehow Eggman flips him over again, and then sends him away during a spin dash that should have completely cut him apart. And oh! Eggman explains that Sonic trashed his 3D holographic solidifier with a lucky kick. So it was his hologram that was fighting him. He continues that he wants to discuss his own survival. Jules says, "Do you realize how absurd you sound? Since he shouldn't even try to reason with Sonic if he thinks he's the one who's trying to kill him." Eggman briefly taunts Jules over Chuck's skill, and then hopes that Sonic would make life miserable for whoever's after him. Because I guess he assumes Sonic's so idealistic that he'd try to kill the person who's heroically trying to stop Eggman once and for all. Also, Eggman says that he could get Jules all of that tin can, meaning de-roboticize him as a reward. That at least convinces Sonic and Rotor to go in the airship, and Rotor reasons that if there's a force even worse than Eggman's reckoned with, they should deal with it. With Sonic and Rotor at Eggman's base, Eggman says, "Make yourselves comfortable while I access the electronic logs for our dear Rotor." Naturally, since they're both engineers, so Rotor can be useful to him. I like Sonic's response to that, where he says, "Dear Rotor, you know something I don't?" And Rotor says with a completely blank facial expression, unfortunately, "I refuse to dignify that with the response." Eggman wonders if the system shutdown is a demonstration of a technology he didn't believe possible anymore. So wait, how does he expect the system shutdown to occur? If the city blows up, he can just leave it. If the base blows up, then the same thing. So the only logical explanation would be that there's an electronic chip in a part of his body that caused too much trouble trying to remove, which will blow up later on. Maybe it was put in him with nanobots? With a sound happening coming closer, Sonic naturally wonders that Eggman stuck him into a trap, and then M crashes through the door, shouting, "Why, Father, how on Mobius could you have forgotten your darling daughter?" So she's angry that Eggman didn't even try to find her in the sewers, and it looks like she won't listen to reason either. Sonic, after dodging her lasers, ties her up with a convenient cord, only to get swung around in a circle and tell Rotor to look out as he crashes into him. Then M tells Eggman, "Time to pay for your crimes against the Kingdom of Acorn." So now she's on that kingdom's side? That's good. She then asks, "Why don't you query Adam regarding the 12-hour delay broadcasting the transmission?" Revealing that it is indeed time, as she says, surrounding him with Neo-Metal Sonics, that her master is now in control. So Adam sympathized with M's plight and betrayed him too? The two stories of this issue were written by Ken Penders. The first one where Shadow hears a broadcast from Gerald from the military warning people about him, and Mecha, not Adam like I thought because M's Adam form looks like a man, complains that Metal Sonic might have gotten the files he collected for her damaged by Shadow. At the very least, this confusion with M looking like a man and therefore looking like Adam allowed me to be surprised when Mecha showed up to attack Eggman. It didn't ruin the suspense. It felt a lot better seeing her show up with a dramatic entrance in the second story. And with that second story, I can commend it for having a lot of good reasons for why Sonic would agree to save Eggman from M. Eggman is offering to de-roboticize Jules as a reward, and Rotor is saying that they should deal with whatever villain is able to threaten even Eggman, as it'll be the bigger threat to them afterwards. Except M later on says that she's punishing Eggman for the crimes against the Kingdom of Acorn, so she's suddenly on the good side now. So unless she continues trying to kill Sonic later purely because he's trying to waste time fighting her, she shouldn't be regarded as anything but a hero for this. And her motivation makes sense. She felt betrayed that Eggman didn't love her enough to be desperate enough to try and find her again. I agree with Sonic though, how did she survive that?